And we're live. Alright. Hell yeah, everything looks pretty good. Okay. I'm not sure what to do with my hands. Do your models look like this? Dang, those models look flatter than I was in middle school. If your miniatures are looking flat, it's probably because you don't know about these nangs. They're called washes, you dingus. These guys add contrast and depth to your miniatures, and today, I'm going to show you how to use them. What's up, guys? My name's Elliot. Welcome to the Grim Dark End. Wash time! Acrylic washes are basically thinned down paint that go into the recessed areas of your models. They're designed to create shadows and depth to give our minis the impression that we're much better painters than we actually are. They're a quick and effective way to add contrast to the recessed areas without messing up the raised areas. Well, mostly. But we'll get to that in a second. Now listen up, guys. If you're not using washes, probably means you don't have a girlfriend. Studies have shown that using washes can increase your attractiveness by 35%. And that's real science. Alright? Acrylic washes come in all colors. Black, brown, orange, red, blue, gold, you name it. Skin tone, whatever you need, there's a wash for it. Now don't use a wet palette for these. These things will separate faster than my parents did when I was a kid on one of those. You want to get yourself one of these. This is a dry palette, I think. You can pick these up at your hobby store for super cheap, like $1. Now, there's a ton of brands out there, but personally, I love the Army Painter. The Army Painter stuff just dries a little bit slower, making it a little bit easier to work with. The easiest way to apply these washes is straight out of the bottle. After you've base coated, just slap some washes on there to add some shadows and contrast to your models. Bam, you're done. But wait, I know what you're thinking. Wait, that sounds too good to be true. How could that be just you slap it on? Well, kinda is. The problem with acrylic washes is they stain the raised areas and leave coffee stains. These coffee stains make everything look terrible, and your models look pretty dark too. So, it's gross. Alright? And if you're like me, and it took you 4 fucking months to figure this out.
Hey, no running. Slow down. Blow me. Alright.
Don't worry, I got your back. So you can always go back in with a regular brush, go over the raised areas with the color you used for your base coat, and get rid of some of those coffee stains and the darkness. But this takes time. A lot of time. Here's another trick. If you haven't base coated your entire model yet, you can actually dry brush your original color onto the model to get rid of those dark areas. This will brighten the raised areas without touching the recessed spots. But this takes time too. Like on this shoulder pad. Looks pretty good, right? Alternatively, you can go full on panel lining. This is where you use the wash to go over every nook, cranny, and recess. Sounds great, but meh. It's tedious and kind of inconsistent. It takes forever to do and even longer to fix the areas that you messed up on. So yeah, not the best for quick and fast results. When you apply panel lining to your miniatures, oftentimes you'll see these inconsistencies in areas, and you're gonna have to go back over those with your original paint color to fix that, and that takes up a lot of time. It looks really good, don't get me wrong. I like the panel line look, but I just don't think all that extra time is worth it, if I'm being honest. But what if you say, oh, Elliot, what if I want to stain my models? Well, pretty solid opinion. Washes actually work great for staining stuff. For example, check out these termagants I had lying around. This is the paint scheme I use for my actual Tyranids army. I zenithal prime them, airbrush Morghast bone all over the skin. I use Sigor brown in the recessed areas, and Vallejo orange red on the tail. Now, let's use a wash for this staining power. I'm going to take some Fugan orange shade straight out of the pot and start applying it to the areas that I would like to stain, like the rivets on the skin and the spaces between the limbs. Shades and washes are transparent. Because washes are transparent, that means they'll lightly tint whatever we apply them to. Transparent paints, like washes, don't work the best over darker colors like black or brown. Washes are going to work much better over white or some kind of off-white or gray. Shout out to Ninjon, by the way. He does a killer tutorial on this. I'll drop a link in the description if you want to check out his tutorial below. After staining, I finish with some Black Legion on the carapace. I hit the eyes and teeth with pure white and a little bit of pink on the tongue. I also pop a touch of Nazdrag yellow contrast paint over the eyes. This is another example of staining, by the way. Let's see. Now it's time for a wash. This is my favorite way to apply acrylic washes if I'm doing it over the entire mini. I'll take some Agrax Earthshade and apply it to a small section of the model, like the tail and legs. After applying, I'm going to wash my brush in water, dab it off on a paper towel. Take your brush and gently soak up any excess wash that pooled up in the wrong areas, especially on the raised bits. Sometimes applying these washes leads to having too much in the recessed areas. So washing the brush, dabbing it off on a paper towel, and soaking it up some really helps out. It's a bit of a slow process, especially on bigger models. Washes work less good the bigger your model is, but it's totally worth it. It looks pretty good. Keep repeating this process over the entire model, and you'll start to see that subtle shade effect all over it. Make sure to let your washes fully dry before applying additional paint or coats. Washes do take longer to dry. Now I find that with this whole staining concept, my Agrax Earthshade is actually giving the skin of my Tyranids a sickly, dirty look. Another great way to use acrylic washes is to base coat it, wash it, dry brush a highlight color on. Boom. Great bases. I think these Termy boys turned out pretty good. Each of these guys only took me about 45 minutes. Now, like I said, this is basically the scheme that I use for my own Tyranids army, and you can apply these techniques to your own armies if you are using the proper colors and techniques. Now, it's time to talk about my favorite thing, oils and enamels. Enamel and oil paints differ from the acrylic washes we are used to in that the pigment is not suspended in water. In our line of work, they are suspended in an oil, like linseed oil, or a type of solvent, like mineral spirits. Upon my research, I did find some enamel paints are suspended in a synthetic resin, but I kind of gave up on some of the research. Sorry. What's great about oils and enamel washes is that they are naturally attracted to the recesses. They want to go in there. In addition, they have much longer drying times. Now these type of paints are very easy to clean off the raised areas, which is why they're perfect for our minis. This means no more coffee stains, because we can just wipe it off. You just wipe it. You wipe it down. Now, do not mix water with your oil and enamel paints. It will not work. Oils and enamels need to be thinned down with some kind of solvent, like odorless thinner or mineral spirits, which is my preferred choice. Now, oil paints, and especially enamel paints, can be toxic. So we need to make sure that we're using these paints in a properly ventilated area. And for the love of God, please do not lick your fucking brush. So be careful with this stuff. Take the proper precautions, use proper ventilation, and you'll be fine. A lot of times I like to give my models a gloss varnish before I throw on an oil or enamel paint. Sometimes I find if your paint layer underneath is too thin, the paint will be stripped off of the raised areas when using a mineral spirit. Using a solvent on your miniature, if your miniature's not properly base coated, can remove the paint that's underneath. If a solvent gets underneath the paint of your miniature, it will make the paint fall off. I mean, you're literally wasting all that time's gone. All the minerals, it's done. You fucked it. You squandered it, okay?
You blew it! You had it all and you blew it!
So, a gloss varnish adds an extra layer of protection here. It's not 100% needed 100% of the time, but I like to be safe than sorry. Now let's start off by using some oils as a wash. I grab my dry palette and mix up a cheap raw umber oil I got from Michael's. I mix this up with a bit of black. I'm going to slowly add mineral spirits to this mix until I get a thin consistency. This is about the wash consistency you're looking for. Now you can just completely coat the entire model. I know it looks ruined, but just hang in there. For an enamel paint here, I'm going to use AK Interactive's Brown Wash. I really like AK Interactive stuff. AK Interactive, send me stuff. This AK Interactive Brown Wash actually doesn't even require any thinning, so we can just use it straight out of the pot. For both of these, I like to wait about 30 minutes to an hour to let the models dry. Then I come in with some of these. These are just some makeup sponges that I got off Amazon. Q-tips work fine also. Take your sponge, dip it in mineral spirits, and start wiping off all the paint off the raised areas. Be careful not to apply too much pressure here. After you've removed all the desired paint you want, I like to let these dry for a day or two. If you're using oils and you let them dry too long, you'll ruin your models. Alright, let's look at the finished products. I think the enamel and the oil look pretty similar. I'm partial to the enamels. The oil paint just has a more glossy finish. But if that's what you're going for, then definitely use an oil. If you want to learn more about oils and enamels, I recommend the Feral Painter or the Grimdark Compendium in learning how to use these products. Both of these channels have high quality tutorials and lessons on these products. This is my first video, guys. I'll definitely have more coming soon. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you learned something new or would just like to support. Also, let me know in the comments below what kind of videos you guys would like to see next on the channel. Use washes on your miniatures. Alright, till next time.